Come with me as we explore the dinners American families prepared during the 1950s.
Until 1950, a federal American law banned families from buying pre-colored yellow fake butter. They had to knead the dye in by hand, at home, every single time they opened a new package. Here are 13 real dinners American families of the 1950s depended on to get through the entire week before payday finally arrived.
Before we go on, subscribe now. Item 4 on this list is about a real federal law most people today have no idea ever existed.
Tuna noodle casserole, canned tuna, cooked egg noodles, and a can of cream of mushroom soup mixed in a baking dish and baked until bubbling became the most repeated dinner in American working-class homes during the week before payday. Campbell's, maker of the canned cream of mushroom soup, printed the recipe directly on the can label starting in the 1950s, turning a shelf product into a fixed dinner base for millions of families. A single can of tuna costing a fraction of fresh meat, stretched into portions enough to feed an entire family, bulked out by the noodles and the soup. The dish became so tied to the decade's domestic identity that it still appears on any list of nostalgic American food today, decades after it stopped being financial necessity and became comfort choice instead. The Swanson TV dinner. In 1953, the Swanson Company found itself with a massive surplus of Thanksgiving turkey sitting in refrigerated rail cars with nowhere to go. The solution was a compartmentalized aluminum tray with turkey, mashed potatoes, and vegetables, frozen and ready to heat in the oven in under half an hour, officially launched in 1954. The initial promotional price made the frozen dinner a real option for families in the tight week before payday, when cooking from scratch meant spending time and money simply not available. The success was so large that Swanson sold 10 million units in its first full year alone, permanently changing how American families thought about a quick dinner. You've seen 2 of these 13 dinners so far, but hold on to this. Item 4 explains a real federal law about food that sounds almost made up. And item 13 closes out this entire list with the one dinner that wasn't about stretching any budget at all. The canned soup casserole culture. A single can of cream of mushroom, chicken, or celery soup mixed with whatever protein and vegetable was left in the pantry and topped with something crunchy before baking became a fixed dinner formula in practically every American home of the decade, repeated in endless variations depending on what was left over that specific week. The logic was always the same: stretch a small amount of real ingredient using the thickened soup as a base, creating the illusion of a more elaborate dish than it actually was. Women's magazines of the era published dozens of variations on this exact formula every month, encouraging housewives to try new combinations built on the same underlying principle. It was, at once, genuine culinary creativity and pure necessity to make the weekly budget last until the next paycheck. Fake butter, kneaded by hand at home. Until 1950, a federal law banned the sale of pre-colored yellow margarine, forcing families to buy the white, lard-like product along with a capsule or packet of yellow dye that had to be kneaded by hand inside the package itself until the color spread evenly. Companies marketed this process as a small, almost fun household chore. But the real reason behind the law was pressure from the dairy industry lobby, afraid of competition from a cheaper product. Even after the federal law fell in 1950, states like Wisconsin kept the ban on pre-colored margarine until 1967, forcing families there to cross the state line just to buy fake butter in the right color. It was a weekly kitchen ritual most families today have no idea was ever legally required. Before we continue, take a guess. Why do you think it was illegal to buy fake butter already in the right color until 1950? The answer has nothing to do with health, and it's coming right now. The milkman's credit tab. Before the supermarket fully took over shopping routines, the milkman delivered glass bottles straight to the door every morning, and many families kept an informal credit tab with him, paying off the accumulated total only once the week's paycheck finally arrived. That personal relationship of trust, built delivery after delivery over years, let families keep receiving fresh milk even on the tightest financial days before payday, with no need to haggle over price or pay up front every time. The system depended entirely on each family's reputation and history in the neighborhood, a kind of personal credit that would disappear decades later along with the door-to-door milk delivery job itself. Vienna sausages straight from the can, small soft sausages preserved in liquid inside compact cans, quickly heated in a pan or eaten cold straight from the can, solved the problem of fast protein on the busiest, tightest financial days of the week. The product, cheap and long-lasting in the pantry, became a fixed monthly purchase in families who needed to guarantee some protein source available even when the week's money was nearly gone. Children of the era often remembered these sausages as an emergency snack or dinner, served with bread or alone, always tied to the days when the refrigerator was noticeably emptier than usual. The Sloppy Joe sandwich ground beef seasoned and simmered in a slightly sweet tomato sauce, served inside an ordinary hamburger bun, stretched a small amount of meat far enough to feed an entire family, the sauce making up in volume what it lacked in real meat. The dish required only one cheap meat ingredient and a few seasonings already sitting in any ordinary pantry, making it a recurring option specifically in the days before payday, when stretching every gram of purchased meat truly mattered. Unlike more elaborate dishes on this list, the Sloppy Joe could be made in minutes in a single pan, a real advantage for mothers managing house, kids, and a tight budget all at once. New England American chop suey ground beef, macaroni, and tomato sauce mixed in a single pot, despite its name borrowed from Chinese cooking, had no real relation to the original dish, being an entirely American creation from the New England region that made use of cheap noodles and little meat to fill an entire pot of dinner. The recipe spread through schools and community cafeterias in the region before becoming a common home dish for families trying to stretch the weekly budget. Restaurants and cafeterias in Massachusetts and Rhode Island still serve nearly identical versions of the dish today, a regional tradition that outlived the original financial necessity that created it.
That's 8 of 13 dinners revealed so far, but item 13 is the only one on this entire list that wasn't born from any financial tightness at all. Keep going until then.
Pittsburgh-style chipped ham sandwiches. Cooked ham sliced extremely thin at the butcher counter, sold by weight for a much lower price than any whole cut, was piled generously into a bun and topped with sweet barbecue sauce, a combination specific to the Pittsburgh region that produced hearty sandwiches from meat that, sliced thick, would have cost far more for the same amount. Local butcher shops sliced this ham fresh to order, making it a recurring weekly purchase for families in the region who learned to ask for exactly the amount that week's budget allowed. The sandwich is still sold today in Pittsburgh delicatessens, practically unchanged since the decade it was born as a tight budget solution. Meatloaf stretched with oats ground, beef mixed with rolled oats, egg, and chopped onion, shaped into a loaf pan and topped with a layer of ketchup before baking, produced a generous meatloaf from a real meat quantity, far smaller than the final portion size suggested. Oats far cheaper than meat and able to absorb and hold moisture during cooking. Let a family stretch a single package of ground beef across 2 or 3 meals throughout the tightest week before payday. Served sliced, the meatloaf also produced cold sandwiches the next day, multiplying the value of a single batch even further. Crushed potato chip-topped casserole. Ordinary potato chips, roughly crushed by hand and sprinkled over any meat, noodle, or vegetable casserole before baking, created a crispy, salty crust without requiring any extra ingredient beyond a bag of chips already in the pantry for another purpose. The technique, popular at church suppers and neighborhood gatherings of the decade, turned a simple homemade dish into something visually more elaborate and texturally more interesting at no real added cost. It was the kind of kitchen trick passed by word of mouth between neighbors, each one trying a slightly different variation on the same basic total use idea. Instant pudding for dessert. Instant pudding powder, commercially launched in flavor variations across the decade, needed only cold milk and a few minutes with a mixer to become a ready, creamy dessert, with no stove, oven, or cooking time required at all. The product solved a real problem for families tightest on money before payday, guaranteeing a sweet dessert for the kids without spending almost anything beyond the powder packet itself, since the milk was usually already being bought for the rest of the week anyway. Served in simple cups, this pudding represented a small guaranteed luxury even on the tightest days of the entire month. The payday steak dinner. The moment the week's paycheck finally arrived, many families set aside part of the money for a dinner completely different from everything else on this list. A real steak, grilled, and served with no need to stretch it with noodles, canned soup, or oats at all. This specific dinner functioned as the emotional marker of the entire week, the moment the family could finally eat without calculating every cent spent, even knowing the whole cycle of stretched casseroles and sandwiches would start again in just a few days. Decades later, it's exactly that contrast between the tight week and the payday steak dinner that sums up the real experience of being a working-class family in 1950s America. It was never about never having enough. It was about learning exactly when to stretch and when to finally relax.
Which of these 13 dinners do you recognize from your own family's kitchen, even without knowing it came straight from the 1950s?
Subscribe now, because the next video reveals another forgotten group from American history. Comment below. Which of these dishes still shows up at your table today?